A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, the third tale. There once was an invisible man, the monster continued, though Connor kept his eyes firmly on Harry, who had grown tired of being unseen. Connor set himself into a walk after Harry. It was not that he was actually invisible, the monster said, following Connor, the room volume dropping as they passed. It was that people had become used to not seeing him. Hey, Connor called. Harry didn't turn round. Neither did Sully nor Anton, though they were still sniggering as Connor picked up his pace. And if no one sees you, the monster said, picking up its pace too, are you really there at all? Hey, Connor called loudly. The dining hall had fallen silent now, as Connor and the monster moved faster after Harry, who had still not turned round. Connor reached him and grabbed him by the shoulder, twisting him round. Harry pretended to question what had happened, looking hard at Sully, acting like he was the one who'd done it. Quit messing about, Harry said, and turned away from Connor. And then one day the invisible man decided, the monster said, its voice ringing in Connor's ears, I will make them see me. How? Connor asked, breathing heavily again, not turning back to the monster standing there, not looking at the reaction of the room to the huge monster now in their midst, though he was aware of their nervous murmurs and a strange anticipation in the air. How did the man do it? Connor could feel the monster close behind him, knew that it was kneeling, knew that it was putting its face up to his ear to whisper it into it, to tell him the rest of the story. He called, it said, for a monster. And it reached a huge, monstrous hand past Connor and knocked Harry flying across the floor. Trays clattered and people screamed as Harry tumbled past them. Anton and Sully looked aghast, first at Harry, then back at Connor. Their faces changed as they saw him. Connor took another step forwards, feeling the monster towering behind him. Anton and Sully turned and ran. What do you think you're playing at, O'Malley? Harry said as he pulled himself up off the floor, holding his forehead where it hit it as he fell. He took his hand away and a few people screamed as they saw blood. Connor kept moving forward, people scrambling to get out of his way. The monster came with him, matching him step for step. You don't see me? Connor shouted as he came. You don't see me? No, O'Malley, Harry shouted back as he stood. No, I don't. No one here does. Connor stopped and looked around slowly. The whole room was watching them now, waiting to see what would happen. Except when Connor turned to face them, they looked away, like it was too embarrassing or painful to actually look at him directly. Only Lily held his eyes for longer than a second, her face anxious and hurt. You think this scares me, O'Malley? Harry said, touching the blood on his forehead. You think I'm ever going to be afraid of you? Connor said nothing, just started moving forwards again. Harry took a step back. Connor O'Malley, he said, his voice growling poisonous now, who everyone's sorry for because of his mum, who swans around school acting like he's so different, like no one knows his suffering. Connor kept walking. He was almost there. Connor O'Malley, who wants to be punished, Harry said, still stepping back, his eyes on Connor. Connor O'Malley, who needs to be punished. And why is that, Connor O'Malley? What secrets do you hide that are so terrible? You shut up, Connor said, and he heard the monster's voice say it with him. Harry backed up another step until he was against a window. It felt like the whole school was holding its breath, waiting to see what Connor would do. He could hear a teacher or two calling from outside, finally noticing something was going on. But do you know what I see when I look at you, O'Malley? Harry said. Connor clenched his hands into fists. Harry leaned forwards, his eyes flashing. I see nothing, he said. Without turning around, Connor asked the monster a question. What did you do to help the invisible man? And he felt the monster's voice again, like it was inside its own head. I made them see, it said. Connor clenched his fists even tighter. Then the monster leapt forward to make Harry see.